My guest today is Mr. Ivan Zimmermann, the famous South African actor who was first on the crime scene to play the lead detective opposite Charlotte Hope, who played me in the TV series Catch Me a Killer based upon my autobiography. Now, Ivan and I are both so excited about Charlotte and the Emmys. What an achievement. Congratulations, Charlotte.
Congratulations, Charlotte.
Now, Ivan, I was very sad that the chief producer never introduced me formally to Charlotte. And I'm sure she felt the same. So, how did this happen? Because you intervened there.
First of all, hello, Micki. Thank you for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure.
I was very surprised that you guys haven't met. And then one day with a rehearsal, I spoke to Charlotte and I said, listen, but obviously you've met Micki before. And she said, no, she hasn't. I said, but listen, let's phone her quickly. And I think I video called you.
Yes.
I don't remember, yeah. And then obviously picked up and then you guys met at last.
Yes, that was great.
And that was it, yeah.
Yeah, it was such an informal introduction on the spur of the moment. And then after that, of course, we had each other's numbers. So Charlotte and I would speak in the evening about her day, or she'd ask me about something. Yes, it was really, really great.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, that's how it should be, huh?
Yes. You know, Ivan, you and I have known each other for decades, which is why you had my number on your phone. So if anyone can say if Charlotte really got me, it's you. Now, I think she really got me. But from your point of view, what did she do? What similarities did she have that reminded you of me?
Both of you are very short. Just kidding. Both of you have red hair. Both of you are very fiery. Okay. These were all tongue-in-cheek comments that I made.
Yes.
Okay. When it came to acting, I thought, wow, there's no one better that would have portrayed you. She must have watched some interviews of you. I don't know if there are interviews of you available on YouTube or somewhere.
It could have been.
The little mannerisms was definitely spot on, but you are definitely a bit of a fiery, fierce personality that came through in that character, you know?
Thank you. I think Charlotte would be the same. So, what was it like playing opposite such a famous actress? Was she a diva?
Oh, no, not at all. No, not at all. Very down to earth, very, very hardworking. I've never seen in South Africa, I've never seen someone work so hard on a character and preparation for a character. I mean, she would shoot, and her schedule was hectic. She would shoot the whole day and then go back to a hotel and start rehearsals with her dialogue coach for the next day, you know? I've never seen anyone work so hard. I've seen people work so hard, obviously, for theatre productions, but never in film or TV. I mean, she's super talented.
She's very talented.
But yeah, for me, it was eye-opening to see how well someone can be prepared, how well someone can come prepared to the set, you know?
Yes. You know, she not only got some of my mannerisms. I remember there were scenes, you know, I have a habit of sitting on a table when I lecture, etc., you know, and she did that often. And there was one scene, you know, which she really clicked her heels. Yeah.
Are those things that you told her?
No.
Are those things that you... Okay,
no.
Cool. Yeah, it just shows you that if you get into a character...
Yeah, she got into my head. You know, like I get into the head of the serial killers. She really got into my head, you know, her frustrations. I mean, I know they told her to smoke because I used to smoke a lot then. I don't know anymore. You know, and eating chocolate and all of that. She got that. But just sometimes the look in her eyes, I could recognize myself, and that was like a mirror of my soul, seeing that in her eyes.
That's scary, though.
Just shows you how talented she is.
Yeah, that's amazing, eh? That's amazing. It was was a very haunting set to work on.
Getting back to the series, I mean, you were involved in the first 2 episodes, of the Station Strangler case, which was my very first case. And I was such a rookie. I mean, I had no idea about the police. I really, really arrived there in black stockings and a mini skirt, like they show.
Oh, my word.
That was the truth. Anyway, as the character, Chris Exterior, you were very protective towards Micki or towards Charlotte, So did this come naturally? Because, all the other detectives, most of them were very, antagonistic. So did it come naturally to you to protect her?
Obviously, I had the privilege of phoning you anytime I wanted to. So for my preparation for Chris, I spoke to you, and that's one of the first things that you ever mentioned to me, is that Chris is very, very protective over Micki. And I think my whole character was based on protecting Micki.
Yes.
The core of the character. So I really wanted to portray that.
Yes.
So and it came easy. Charlotte's such a small girl, and I'm quite tall, so playing opposite her, it came, in that sense, it came very natural to kind of protect her. And then some of the scenes that we shot was the script was well written as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember what was that, early 80s, late 70s?
It was
early 80s.
No, it was in the early 1990s. Yeah, 1994 it started.
1994. Okay. I mean, I don't think whether things have changed in the SAP yet. Look, a lot has changed, but I mean, it's a man's world.
Yes.
I think it's still a man's world.
Yes, it was.
Crime investigation and murder investigations. I think it's still mainly a man's world, So as an actor, as I live myself into the character as well, it came naturally to protect this petite, fragile woman,
Thank you. Well, also, talking about you, I mean, I remember, when they were talking about casting, one of the first things that I told them is I said, well, I think they should give, this role to you. And I remember, Brett Wilson, one of the producers, says, well, I haven't even met him, Micki. So, just arrange something. And I called you, and you weren't that excited in the beginning. Can you remember?
I don't think you were serious. I honestly didn't think you were serious about it. I kind of went okay, they're doing a movie on Micki's life, and I went, I remember I wasn't very excited about it.
Oh, well, that book was about 15, 20 years old by then. I mean, did any of us ever believe that they would make a TV series of it?
Yeah, sorry I didn't take it seriously.
No, I think it was very, it amuses me, because I remember you came for the interview and you brought your dog along for the audition.
I had to because I was in Cape Town. Or yeah, and I was, yeah. What happened there? I think I was late as well for the audition. And look, if it wasn't for you, I don't think I would have gotten the brief for this audition.
No, I think it was the dog. I think your dog did it.
No, yeah. So my dog's name is Happy, obviously, and then I traveled down to Cape Town. I remember still, what happened? I left home too late, and it's a 4-hour drive to Cape Town. And I did the audition on the side of the road. I pulled off. It was obviously a telephone audition, the first one, and then after that, I went straight to the production office for like a in-person audition. But I remember I still pulled off the road to briefly speak to the director, and it was an adventurous, and it's definitely one of my best productions I've ever worked on. It was the very first English production I've worked on. It was my very first international production that I've worked on.
Well, you were perfect for that role.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy. And I got so many compliments for that role from producers, from people who've seen it. So your instinct, your brilliant psychological mind has casted me well.
Good.
So it's all thanks to you.
Well.
So
Yeah.
so you if all else fails, you can become a casting director.
Thank you. That would be a very good new career for me. Yeah. Well, Ivan, getting back to the series as well. The when I watched it, the trauma of the community, and the victims and their families was very realistically directed by Tracy Larkham. It really showed it as it was. Now, when you acted there, did you actually feel that?
Sure.
Crowds at the police
station? Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Look, I finished school in 1993. That 1994, the new government started.
Yes.
The set was, it was so amazing. Hey?
Yes.
Everything looked like those days.
Yeah. Compliments to Warren Gray.
Yeah, man, that was, the wardrobe, the police vehicles, the interior of the houses. And you know what happened the one day? Someone walked up. They didn't realize it's a movie set. Someone walked up to Norman.
Kagiso Kuipers, yeah, the actor. Yeah.
Someone walked up to Kagiso and asked him, what is he doing here? And they had to ask the lady to leave. She thought it was actually Norman.
Yeah, his acting was superb. And
his acting was amazing. Hey?
Yeah, and in 2023, Norman was released on parole, although he doesn't look like that anymore, which is another topic for another day.
Yeah, that's scary stuff for me, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just scared. I'm just scared to read your book. I don't do.
You can read it.
Yeah, I know. I'm too scared.
Well, tell me when, the scary stuff, if we look at the crime scenes, I remember the one with the maggots. It was very real. There were more maggots in the real life than there was this time. And the mortuary scene.
Yeah, obviously.
And you and Charlotte playing those.
Yeah, interesting props. So set design, they organized the maggots, and we didn't tell Charlotte about the maggots.
Oh.
So that reaction is like super real that Charlotte had when she saw the maggots.
Yeah, people can, depict them in the movies, but in real life, people don't realize what they sound like. I remember when I had post-traumatic stress, one of the symptoms was I couldn't stand it if somebody crumpled a newspaper, because that to me sounded like maggots eating flesh. Yeah. And the smell. That's something that you can never show. You can show what it looked like, but you can't show what it smells like or smells what it sounds like.
Oh.
So I think that was quite traumatic.
There weren't that many maggots.
No.
So that, but I can imagine just millions of maggots just chewing on something that you're going to be able to hear it,
It was awful. And I think she got that. I could see in the very first crime scene when she sat there crying. I think that was real. She told me that day it was a very emotional scene, with the mother finding the boy. In real life, the mother didn't find the boy. She wasn't there, but we were there.
Man, I stood there on that dune, and that the lady I'm getting goosebumps now as I speak to you. That lady that portrayed the mother, when she started crying there, the whole set just went. And after that, it's heavy stuff, heavy stuff. Especially if you stand there and all of this happened,
Yes, that's the thing. How did you regroup as actors after something like that? When they say cut, what happened then?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, and sometimes, I would say in this case, fortunately, you need to keep it professional because you work against the clock.
Hmm.
So you just got to focus and pull yourself towards yourself and just basically clear your mind and numb yourself to the next take, and be fresh emotionally for the next take. That's what you need to do, because otherwise, I think if you hang on to those emotions, you're going to walk off that set and you're going to need psychological help, you know. Because it's tough, you know, it's tough. But then again, it's also a great tool to use in the scene. I mean, it was. I remember a line now where my character said "Happy birthday," and it was his birthday.
It was my
It
birthday.
was that boy's birthday.
No, it was my birthday. It was Micki's birthday. It was my birthday. We got that first scene on my birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was on Micki's birthday. Yeah, and I still went like "Happy effing birthday."
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that line just stuck so well in that scene. You know,
Yeah, I'll never forget my birthday in 1990.
there's someone's birthday and there's someone's dead and someone's celebrating their birthday. You know.
Now, if you speak about the professionalism, I mean, on the crime scenes itself, it was from those very first detectives that I learned to be professional on the crime scene too. You know, there's no time for emotion, but when you get home at night, a day or two later, it hits you.
Yeah,
it's all of us.
Yeah.
As a child,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
really tough for all of us.
I can just imagine, man, that shooting that took so much about you after that, you know? Why would someone put themselves through what you've put yourself? That was a choice. Someone didn't phone you and say, look, listen, Micki, you got to go and do this job. I order you because, in the military, I order you to go and catch these killers. You kind of like volunteered for it, didn't you?
Well, yes, in a sense. Well, the professor, I think he's portrayed there by myself and Helen. The police did call the professor and he nominated me. That was very real. It worked like that. And I accepted the job. Yes, so I was voluntary, but I accepted the job, not knowing, of course, what it was going to be like. And I was scarcely in. It was about, a month after I was in the police that we found that body. My very first day I was thrown in the deep end with the detectives, and luckily I had somebody like, the original detective that you played was Johan. And he looked after me, and they taught me that first scene. Now, in the meantime, as well, what's very sad is Johan Kotze is deceased. I think he died last year, which is very, very sad. And then also AJ Oliver, that was played by Vaughan Lucas, he's also deceased. So the two detectives that we see there now, that were played by you and by Vaughan, are both deceased. And, that was sad to me because these men taught me. So,
Yeah.
and they didn't have a choice. Well, they also volunteered to go into the police.
Yeah, that's yeah. How did that professor introduce you? How did they think like, okay, Micki Pistorius is going to be the woman for this?
Yes, it happened that I was in his class, and they had a list of topics for our students. We were busy with our master's degrees to write something on it, and one of the topics was serial killers, and I can't remember if nobody else wanted it or if I picked it, but I got it. And then I was very much into Freud at that stage, and then I just saw the connection, link between Freud's psychosexual developmental phases and fixations there, and serial killers. And I started writing my doctorate's degree on that. And then that's when the police called and asked him, and then he said, well, we have Micki and she's writing a doctorate's degree on serial killers. So I got the interview with the police and I was immediately appointed. There was no profiler before that, so I was the first. So that's how that came to be. Somebody that cried at Bambi, the movie, when she was a young girl, ended up profiling serial killers.
Sorry, I'm laughing at this, but it's like like most of the time, I think people are too serious around you because of your job. But because that's interesting. And how old were you then?
I was in my early 30s, I think. Yeah.
You think it's a destiny thing? Was it a destiny thing for you? Was it mystically or?
Yes, I think so.
Placed on your path to do that, to do this job?
Yes, I do think so. I do think so. It was a calling, and I do think so. As you know, I didn't have a normal life where I got married and had children and all of that. It just didn't work out that way. So I think, yes, I think I was supposed to do this. And maybe had I known before, maybe I would have said no. I still did it, and I still do. But that's something as well that I think, I don't know if you noticed that as well, but there was sort of a fragility about Charlotte as well, and she could also have fun. I mean, some nights, she acted during the day and she would call me at night and we would just laugh and giggle about something completely different. She'd talk about her boyfriend, just normal girly stuff.
Yeah.
That also happened.
Yeah, that must be good for her, just to release, just to release after a hectic day.
One night she called, and we practiced her laugh, and she was laughing, and then she said, okay, well, this is an acting laugh or this or this. And eventually we just both laughed naturally so much. That was quite
right.
Very nice connection with Charlie.
What was your overall impression of the series? Were you very happy? Were you going like, okay, spot on, well done scriptwriters, well done directors, well done art department, technical department? Did you go like, wow, that looks like me. That looks like me. I remember walking there. I remember saying that.
I think my greatest compliment would go to the actors, guys like you, and I mean, very in this first one as well, Gavin Werner that played Colonel Knight. I mean, I remember
he was amazing.
I was really, really scared of Colonel Knight, and when I saw Gavin Werner acting like that, I really sort of had this knot on my stomach just watching it.
Yeah, there were so many amazing actors, South African actors on that series.
The actors were fantastic.
I think it was casted very well.
And then Warren Gray, as well, as you said, he designed the sets and he was the set guy. I mean, they did fantastic work recreating everything.
Yeah,
that was great. I think Tracy Larkham was very good as a director, and Brett Wilson. And I think what also, regarding the script, in the beginning, they mostly stuck to the book. Obviously, not everything, but I know they had to focus on the main character, and it bothered me that sometimes they would give some of the detectives did the interrogations, not me, but in the movie they had to focus on that. I accept some of that. But sometimes I think they pushed their poetic license too far. And I think by the end of the series, they were completely down a rabbit hole where I didn't even recognize where was this in the book? It was nowhere close to the book, although Charlotte still played her heart out. I mean, she was great. But I was never shot in the hand or whatever, So in the end, I think it veered off the line. But it's still a very compelling series to watch, and they never shoot it exactly like the book, ever.
Never, as far as I know.
No, they don't.
It's very difficult, because I think if they have to shoot it exactly the way, then it might become lost in translation, And it's difficult, It's really difficult to make a bad series and a bad movie. Now you have to know how difficult it is to make a good one.
Yeah, well, at some stage, I remember, the executive producer said, well, we have to make it more dramatic. And I thought, well, I think it was dramatic enough when I lived it, but anyway, it's a fantastic series and I'm so great, that Charlie did the role, that you got the role. And
yeah, I like the fact that it was more drama orientated than like an action movie, like an action thing it really focused on the psychology of serial killers. And that's exactly what portrays your life. Someone could have easily said, listen, we're going to take this book and we're going to make it a massive, massive action film, with car chases and chasing the serial killer. Then it would have veered completely off.
Yes, it would have.
Your story, So I think it was. I think the script was great.
I think one day we'll sit there by the sea and then we'll read the book together. So I'll hold your hand that you don't feel scared, and see what was.
That people like that actually exist, and people like that still exist,
yes,
right?
They do. Yes, they do.
They still walk this planet. I mean, it is insane.
Yes, they do. But that's why we're there.
My word. Are you still working on cases?
Not those kind of cases.
Are you allowed to say?
No, not really. I do work on cases, not a serial killer case at the moment. But I have consulted, after I left the police, I consulted other police departments on their investigations. Yeah. And I would still, if I get the opportunity and if I'm asked for.
probably your book's going through a time that's selling really a lot of copies.
Yeah, there is an interest, in comparing the book with the TV series, and I would, I have, book signings where I compare the two. And one of the questions that people often ask me is, why is the book called Catch Me a Killer? And I wrote the curriculum and I trained the detectives in investigating serial killers. For 2 weeks, 4 weeks, they would sit there listening to my voice. And then at the end of the series or the end of the lectures, I would say, well, don't just sit there, go and catch me a killer. And that's where the title came from, Catch Me a Killer. Yeah, I'm very glad they used the same title in the TV series, Catch Me a Killer.
That would have been a nice thing to finish off the series, with Micki then lecturing other psychology students and finishing the whole series with Catch Me a Killer. And then,
That would also be a very nice start of a second series. So let's hold thumbs and let's end this interview on the thought that hopefully, if somebody is interested enough, they contact us and see if we could make a second series.
I think a second series would be great.
So this time, if I call you for an audition, would you believe me?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't believe you.
Right, Ivan, thank you very, very much for your interview. I really, really appreciate it.
Lovely being on your show. And thank you so much for the work. Next time I'll definitely take you serious.
Thank you.
It's definitely a massive highlight. It was a massive highlight for me to have worked on Catch Me a Killer, without a doubt.
And you did a fantastic job. I really think we should see if we can pair you and Charlie together again in a second series. Anybody interested? Contact us. Thank you to our YouTube watchers, and thank you to our Patreon and our Substack members. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching and for supporting us.